Where there's need, there's ArchCare. ArchCare is one of the largest and most dynamic Catholic healthcare systems in the country. Thanks to the generous support of donors, ArchCare is at the forefront of innovation, compassion, and spiritual care.
I felt very confident that there was this constant watching and monitoring 24/7, so that what I was receiving in the hospital, I was receiving here.
Donna's talking about this wireless monitor she wore during her rehab here at ArchCare at Mary Manning Walsh, as she recovered from open heart surgery. It's part of Telestat, one of ArchCare's latest investments in advanced technology to help high-risk patients with multiple serious health problems recover faster and more safely.
Patient 1107, he was complaining of tachycardia. When she took his vitals, his heart rate was a little elevated.
Here at the center of the system, doctors can watch over patients anywhere, in their rooms, during activities, and especially during rehab. The system allows doctors to spot minute changes and intervene before they become more serious, often before the patient has any symptoms.
On the other hand, we can also tell how much they can tolerate and how much further they can go. So we've seen in some of the Telestat patients the amount of hours that they spend in physical rehab has increased because we are able to monitor them better. And so they get better faster, and we can discharge them to their home faster.
There's even an app for the doctor's phone.
ArchCare is always trying to stay one step ahead of the healthcare industry and looking towards what are the changes we need in order to stay ahead and to make our patients more comfortable. And Telestat is just one of the many of those tools and approaches that we use in our effort to provide the best care possible.
Without ArchCare, I may not have made the full recovery that I did. And I consider it a miracle.
These tubes keep Beth Ann alive. She requires a highly specialized kind of feeding. With no family, Beth Ann spent more than a year alone in an upstate hospital because no place else could care for her. New York State's Office for People with Developmental Disabilities turned to ArchCare. They knew that if any place could find a way to care for Beth Ann, it was ArchCare's specialty hospital for children. And they were right. A worker from Beth Ann's previous facility thinks of her as her daughter.
I came with her to help transition her into a new place so she wouldn't have to come alone. And the staff here was just wonderful from the time I walked into the door to the time I left. So from day one, they treated me and Beth Ann as family.
Lori says she was taken by the love she saw showered on the youngsters. She knew right away that Beth Ann had found her forever home at ArchCare. Beth Ann loves art, aromatherapy, music, and visiting Central Park.
They're our family. I spend more time here than I do with my own children. So, I mean, I could get teary-eyed, talking about it. But they are. And some of them don't have family, but we are their family.
Where others say we can't, ArchCare says we can and we will. With God's grace, ArchCare will always find a way. White Plains Hospital is just one of 26 hospitals that benefit from ArchCare's growing hospital chaplaincy apostolate. 22 priests visit over 100,000 patients a year. But it's not for just the usual sacraments and prayers. One of the distinctive and defining characteristics of ArchCare is its focus on not just physical, but also spiritual healing.
Chaplaincy is important in the hospital, especially as the role of the priest, because it's Christ coming to visit them at their bedside. That you're not alone in your journey of illness, that God wants to be there with you, along with your family, along with your medical team.
Through ArchCare, the priests receive thousands of hours of clinical pastoral education. But it's not just patients who reap the benefits.
So when I hear or when I recognize that my being with the patients is helping them and they are getting something out of it, that gives me a sense of accomplishment and that gives me an inner joy.
The most fundamental thing that we do in our efforts in the entity of ArchCare, be it from the priesthood to the nurse to the social worker to the volunteer, is that we're going to meet people where they're at, when they're sick, when they're at their worst, maybe when they're at their most difficult time in their life. And we're doing that with the love of God in our hearts, the love of neighbor as a close second, and being able to do that where it's needed most.